and welcome. You're watching Verdict 2017 with me, Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us start with the headlines. Final day of campaigning for fourth phase of elections in Uttar Pradesh. 53 constituencies spread over 12 districts to vote on 23rd of February. District Magistrate orders schools in Allahabad to remain shut today due to political road shows. Congress releases a Manipur manifesto, promises constitutional safeguard for territorial integrity of the state. And as the Ram Temple issue returns this election season, we look at the situation at the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas, where work on material for the temple has been on for 25 years. Well, a story coming in from Uttar Pradesh first, where campaigning for the fourth phase of assembly polls in the state will come to an end today. Well, 53 constituencies in 12 districts of Bundelkhand region will go to polls on 23rd of February. Now, Raebareli, Allahabad, Jhansi, Chitrakoot, Fatehpur and Pratapgarh are some of the prominent constituencies. Remember, in the 2012 polls, out of the 53 seats in this phase, SP had won 24, BJP 5, BSP 15, Congress 6 and others 3. And a number of high-profile rallies are scheduled for today before the campaigning comes to end at 5 p.m. today. Well, Rahul Gandhi will address a public meeting in his family's pocket borough of Raebareli. He will then hold a roadshow in poll-bound Allahabad, covering 14 main points of the city, starting from Anand Bhavan to Allahabad railway station, concluding at the city's Gold Park. Now, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav is also addressing 3 rallies today. He'll be in Pratapgarh, Kaushambi and Allahabad districts. Well, former Chief Minister and BSP Chief Mayawati will be addressing 2 rallies in Basti and Gonda districts, and BJP President Amit Shah will address rallies in Allahabad and Kaushambi districts. The schools in Allahabad are shut today due to political road shows. All right, my colleagues are now joining us from Uttar Pradesh. They are tracking all those developments in Uttar Pradesh very, very closely. Kriti is joining us from Allahabad and Panchanan is joining us from Fatehpur. Let's go across to Panchanan first. And Panchanan, really a war of words is broken out with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Akhilesh Yadav, as well as Mayawati, really hurling charges at each other, making personal attacks. And, it all started probably with that remark that Prime Minister had made in the Fatehpur rally, and the Congress had said it will, complaint against that remark in the Election Commission. What is the update on that, and how are the voters really, looking at those statements?
Yeah, sure. As far as the Fatehpur seat is concerned, the rally of Prime Minister on 19th Feb was, you can say it may be a game changer for the BJP here, because after this rally, we are witnessing a very at this point of time very slow pace of polarization in this Fatehpur, all these 6 seats of Fatehpur. But the war of words between the big wigs it will concern either the Prime Minister or Mayawati or Akhilesh Yadav. There is a big amount of war of words between among all these leaders, and the picture now shifts from this development agenda to now this polarization agenda. And in Fatehpur, we are witnessing that because this seat is lacking very much behind in case of development, and the peoples are really now talking about development, and they are voting in the agenda of development. But the polarization is now become an imminent agenda in this Fatehpur, all these 6 seats of Fatehpur.
All right. All right, Panchanan, thank you so much for those details there. My colleague Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Allahabad. Kriti, as Panchanan was telling us, how that rally by Prime Minister in Fatehpur is now has, changed the scenario a little bit. In fact, all the politicians and parties are mocking each other. And in Allahabad now, Amit Shah will be holding a road show at the same time as the one which is to be held jointly by Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi. So really lot of fireworks expected in Allahabad today.
Well, that's right, Aishwarya. Allahabad has become the cynosure of all political parties. Remember, Aishwarya, Allahabad district is absolutely politically enlightened. It has given highest number of prime ministers to the country. So all the political parties are eyeing this particular district because there are 12 constituencies up for grabs in Allahabad. So as far Amit Shah is concerned, you remember Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a rally here yesterday.
Yes.
Rahul Gandhi would hold a road show. Akhilesh would also hold a roadshow. All the political parties are really embarking upon a high-octane political campaign here, because even if we consider last assembly elections in 2012, it was a formidable performance, spectacular performance by the Samajwadi Party. It would like to continue its winning streak here because out of 12 constituencies, it had won 8 seats. As far as Lok Sabha elections of 2014 are concerned, it was a stupendous performance by the BJP. It was not only about winning seats here, Aishwarya. The BJP had maintained a spectacular winning margin as well. So definitely 12 seats up for grabs, very high stakes for all the political parties, and specifically if I go seat by seat. So remember, Allahabad South BJP has fielded a seasoned party hopper, Nand Gopal Nandi. Earlier he was with the BJP. As far as Allahabad West seat is concerned, BJP's General Secretary Siddharth Nath Singh is pitted against Pooja Pal of the BSP and Richa Singh of the SP. As far as Allahabad North is concerned, bigwig Harsh Vardhan Vajpayee is pitted against Anugrah Narayan, who is a sitting MLA of the Congress and a strongman sort of the Congress. So definitely a very interesting contest we are likely to witness a very, very interesting contest as far as Allahabad district is concerned, and specifically the entire fourth phase of UP elections that is concerned.
Absolutely. Kriti, you stay with us. We'll just come back to you. Meanwhile, Ravindra Singh Shoran is also now joining us. He's joining us from Jhansi. Ravindra, now, of course, Jhansi being a part of the Bundelkhand region now, as far as 2012 polls was concerned, well, despite a SP sweep across the state, it was the BSP that had emerged as the #1 party in Bundelkhand. But obviously, this time it is going to be a three-cornered fight that we are seeing with the Samajwadi Party and the Congress combined and the BSP and the BJP in the game.
Good afternoon, Aishwarya, you are right. What we have seen for the last at least 5 or 6 elections, the people of Jhansi, people of this whole Bundelkhand region, they keep shifting their loyalty from one political front to another political front. No political party is in this position to claim, and they can boast of that the Bundelkhand region is a stronghold of any particular front. And the reason, a lot of reasons which are behind this shifting loyalty of the people of Bundelkhand region, because the addresses of the political parties' leaders carry the important issues, but after once the election is over, they have selective amnesia to forget about the issues, and no political parties has seriously tried to address the problem which are being faced by the people of this Bundelkhand region. All 19 seats which are going to fall on the 23rd of this month, only this particular constituency, Jhansi, where we are standing right now, was won by the BJP. Rest of the seats were won by the BSP and the Samajwadi Party in the last 2012 election. But following that in 2014, the whole all the Lok Sabha seats in the 2014 elections were won by the BJP, and right now Uma Bharti is representing the Jhansi Lok Sabha constituency, and this is the reason BJP is now very confident that in this election they will be able to perform much better than the last election, and this is they giving a lot of confidence to the people and the voters also. A couple of days back, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was addressing a rally, he said that if they will be voted back to the power, then Bundelkhand region will be made a very progressive region.
Absolutely,
like they have done it in the Kutch area of
promises galore that we can see. Gloves are off, each party accusing the other of each party accusing the other. Well, thank you so much, Kriti, and thank you so much, Kriti and Panchanan. for all those updates there. And the Raebareli Lok Sabha seat has been uncontested a preserve of the Gandhi family, but when it comes to the assembly contest, well, the Gandhi magic has been falling short in the region. The party currently does not even hold a single seat among 5 assembly constituencies, while Kriti Mishra reports.
Raebareli, the parliamentary constituency of Congress President Sonia Gandhi, is the proud recipient of development projects worth several crores. They include educational and skill development institutes like National Institute of Fashion and Technology, the Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology and the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. Even a Government of India undertaking, India Telephone Industries Limited, was also established here in 1973, which is why many voters say that Sonia Gandhi and her party can count on their loyalty in the elections.
हम गांधी परिवार के समय में नौकरी पाए हैं और गांधी के परिवार में ही हम रिटायर हुए, इसलिए हम जब तक हमारी जिंदगी है हम कांग्रेस को ही वोट देंगे.
But look closely and the problems become apparent. For all its top educational institutes, the town lacks primary school teachers. There may be 4 national highways, but the roads remain highly dilapidated and non-motorable. A place that has the 3rd rail coach factory of the country is seeing its youth looking for livelihood elsewhere in a subdued job scenario. These are problems that are finding resonance among the electorate.
लोकसभा के लिए हम जो देखते हैं वो नेशनल मुद्दे देखते हैं और जो विधानसभा के लिए हैं यहाँ के लोकल मुद्दे हम देखते हैं. जो भी लोकल हमारा विधानसभा सदस्य होता है उसके लिए हम उसी को वोट देते हैं जो हमारी सुनता हो, जो हमारे बारे में सोचता हो, उसी कैंडिडेट को वोट देते हैं.
The Congress drew a blank in the assembly contest of 2012. It came a distant third in 3 of the 5 assembly seats, while the Samajwadi Party won 4 seats. The 5th seat was won by the Peace Party.
समय के हिसाब से जैसे पहले समय के हिसाब से हम लोग कांग्रेसी भी थे, हम भी कांग्रेस भी थे और चाहते थे, और आज जो है हमने सपा को भी वोट दिया, सपा का भी सपोर्ट किया हम लोगों ने. आज हम परिवर्तन चाहते हैं. आज अपेक्षाएं पूरी नहीं हो रही हैं. लोग वादा करते हैं, नेता लोग आते हैं, वादा करते हैं, चले जाते हैं. लेकिन आज हम परिवर्तन चाहते हैं, ये भी देख लेते हैं.
The parliamentary constituency traces its association to the Nehru-Gandhi family for decades now. Firoz Gandhi and then Indira Gandhi won the seat thrice in 1967, 1971 and 1980. 1977 was an exception when Indira Gandhi lost to Lok Dal's Raj Narayan in the post-emergency anti-Congress wave. BJP won the seat only twice between 1996 and 1998. Since 2004, Sonia Gandhi has remained unassailable. When it comes to the assembly seats, the Congress this time is contesting Harchandpur, Raebareli and Sarini seats in an attempt to regain lost ground in the Gandhi stronghold.
In the Gandhi citadel of Raebareli, winning elections is more than just adding number to the assembly seats. But the near decimation in last assembly elections is a warning signal to the grand old party. Many political observers feel that the party needs to strengthen the organization at the grassroots levels and produce more visionary leaders in the electorally crucial state of Uttar Pradesh. Reporting from Raebareli with camera person Arvind, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, staying with Raebareli, well, Aditi Singh, daughter of Akhilesh Singh, who has held political sway over Raebareli for 25 years, is contesting from Raebareli's Sadar Assembly for the first time. Now, Akhilesh Singh, who won thrice on the Congress symbol, once as an independent and mostly recently on the Peace Party ticket, well, a master's in management studies from Duke University, the United States. Well, Aditi has returned to India to take the baton over from her unwell father and claims that she will start a new chapter in UP politics. Let's take a listen.
Joining me is Congress's candidate from Raebareli, Ms. Aditi Singh. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, Aditi. Aditi, your father has passed on the baton to you, but he is considered as a strong man of sorts. What kind of impact would his image have on your political career?
So far it's had a very positive, believe it or not, a very positive impact on my own image and my own political career, because he's always dealt with things so strongly and he's perceived to be such a strong guy in every sense, right? Mentally also. That has only helped me because people sort of see me in the same way.
Right, but many say that Raebareli has become a destination of dinners. How would you refute that charge?
I'm not even going to try to refute it. There's no point in refuting it, of course. This is the Gandhi bastion. And we very proudly own up to the fact that, yes, Sonia ji is our MP and she's done very good work. So, dynasty or not, right, I just think that the right people and right candidates should enter politics.
Your father is considered as an invincible candidate in Raebareli. He won even when he fought independently. Why did you choose to join Congress then?
Frankly, I was very impressed with Priyanka ji. She's a role model of sorts for me. Rahul ji, Sonia ji, they've done fantastic work here, and I really could see myself fitting into the the party culture and the sort of ideology, right? Like the secular ideologies is what I identify with too.
Your party has entered into alliance with the Samajwadi Party. What are the issues that you're going to fight elections on? And also, the BJP and the BSP are mounting serious challenge.
So, for me, I mean, I'm a first-time candidate. This is my first election. To be very honest, I've been mainly busy in my own constituency. I've been mainly looking after things here and trying to figure out the problems here. The one major thing is that we really do believe in that secular mindset of like sabko ek saath leke chalna, right? Like all castes, all religions, everyone's welcome. Everyone should have an equal say, in matters of policy. So I think that's going to be our biggest USP.
Right, all the best, Aditi, and thank you for talking to Rajya Sabha Television.
Thank you.
From Raebareli, with camera person Arvind, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And in focus today is the Ram temple issue. Well, we visited the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas workshop to find out what is the status of work has been there. Well, for over 25 years, the stones to be used for the construction of the proposed Grand Temple in Ayodhya has been brought and sculpted there.
This is the scene at the workshop of the Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas. Work on stones to be used for the proposed temple is supposed to be done here. 212 pillars have been proposed for the temple. But there are only a few artisans at work. Sculptors who have come from Gujarat say it takes nearly 1 year to complete carving on one large stone.
एक साल लगता है पूरा पत्थर फाइनल करने में. अभी 8-10 आदमी कुल टोटल आदमी है और 2 सुपरवाइजर है. अभी 70% हो गया है, अभी 30% बाकी है.
Work for the construction of the temple has been on here since 1990. Nearly 85 workers worked back then. Big machines were installed for cutting the stones. There was a generator for electricity. But things slowed down after 2007. Even the VHP concedes that.
यहाँ पर एक तो पत्थरों को रखने में दिक्कत आ रही थी. दूसरा ये कि जिन पत्थरों पर नक्काशी होनी है उसमें मूर्तियां बननी है खम्भों पर. 16-16 मूर्तियां बननी हैं. उन मूर्तियों में जो है अगर थोड़ा से भी हाथ लगाया जाए टूट सकती है.
Carved stones have been lying in Karsevakpuram for several years. Some of them are turning black. Many have broken. The VHP workers believe that things will pick pace once a Supreme Court order is out.
निर्माण की तैयारी तो थोड़ा पहले से धीमी हो गई है, इसलिए कि मामला कोर्ट में है. रामलला कोर्ट का फैसला भी दिक्कत आएंगे और रामलला की इच्छा से बनना है.
The new stones arriving at Karsevakpuram are lying unused, as the machine used for cutting these stones has not been working for months. With camera person Sudeep Todas, Sanjay Kumar's report from Ayodhya for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to news from Manipur now. Well, the Congress party released its manifesto on Monday. Well, it promised a constitutional safeguard for the territorial integrity of the state. Well, the party also said that it will strive for the removal of AFSPA from remaining part of Imphal if it is voted back to power. Well, the manifesto, having a 19-point agenda for development, was released by Manipur Chief Minister Okram Ibobi Singh and Congress General Secretary in charge of Manipur CP Joshi. Well, the party also underscored a further improvement of law and order situation in the state. Ibobi Singh also promised a free Wi-Fi and internet connectivity to the state. While listing the achievements of the Congress government of 5 years, the manifesto referred to the creation of 7 new districts in the state. Well, the manifesto also stressed on providing employment to minimum 3 lakh educated unemployed youth through skill development over a period of 5 years. And our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke exclusively with the General Secretary of United Naga Council, Milan Shirmai, who said that the 3-month-long Manipur blockade has been declared to protect and defend their ancestral homeland.
you have declared blockade of these areas for last 2 months. What are the issues?
The issue is that the United Naga Council is here in order to protect and defend our ancestral homeland. In many previous years and previous problems, as and when the government of Manipur intends to upgrade some districts, the Naga people agitated against it, that without consulting the Naga people, no district should be created. This is the reason why the present imposition of economic blockade, including banning the construction of Trans-Asian Railways and national progress projects in Naga areas is going on.
So what are you not allowing to come in this area, and what are you allowing?
It is an economic blockade. Therefore, we block all the commercial goods carrying vehicles entering into Naga areas without the permission of the Naga people.
But Naga people are also suffering because of that.
Yes, the Naga people ought to suffer for its ancestral homeland. We ought to suffer. We have to defend our ancestral homeland.
But sir, this is the election time, and at the election time you have organized a blockade. So how will it impact?
Now, election is something that will come every after 5 years. But ancestral homeland, once gone, it will be gone. Therefore, we don't prioritize electoral politics. We are to defend and protect our homeland.
And one of the major issues for voters in Manipur is the state government's move to create 7 new districts. Now, most affected are the hill areas dominated by the Naga and Kuki tribes. While the Nagas are protesting in the form of an economic blockade which has paralyzed the state, now a section of the Kukis are looking at the traditional rivals to take on the incumbent Congress government. Now, Akhilesh Suman has this special report from Manipur.
Traditional rivals, the Nagas and Kukis in Manipur rarely ever end up on the same side politically. But these days, the Indigenous Kuki People's Forum, or IKPF, is publicly backing the stand taken by the United Naga Council to impose an economic blockade in the state, which has crossed over 2.5 months. IKPF leaders say the Ibobi Singh government's decision to create new districts was ill-timed, and it should have consulted all tribes, including the Nagas.
Since it was a sensitive issue, government should have put on board, have a longer discussion and have a dialogue, and they should have been much more transparency, then this issue would have been resolved at the earliest. So it was necessity that they should have consulted them.
There are 10 Kuki MLAs in the assembly, while one of the 2 MPs from the state is a Kuki. But the sudden announcement of creating new districts came as a surprise, which the group sees as an attempt by the Ibobi Singh government to polarize votes to avoid an anti-incumbency backlash.
Giving 7 districts was good move by this incumbent government. They should have done 5 years, 6 years earlier than what it's supposed to be have done just around the corner of elections. So perhaps in the down corner of election they have declared these 7 districts. So probably they would like to take some political mileage also.
The Kukis have traditionally been the swing vote, hence their support towards the Nagas is being seen as a strategic move. In addition to being caught in the conflict between the Nagas and the Métis, they have been unhappy about the state of development in their villages. While they have derived some benefit from the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the state government has not managed to take it forward. Roads are in a bad shape and water supply in the hilly areas is an acute problem.
Water problem is here, and road problem is also there here because there is no black topping. In the rainy season, there is many muddies are here.
Although Kukis form almost 11% of the population, they don't have any particular political outfit. At present, their leaders are present in all major parties.
Kukis are generally close to Congress, but some of them are feeling that after creation of 7 new districts, the peace of the state may be hampered. And since BJP has come in the fray with full force, a new type of polarization may take place. it will be interesting to see that how cookies respond in the election. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Sutansu in Twitching Village.
And finally, a look at the other election-related news in Polpuri. The Supreme Court has refused to entertain a plea against the Allahabad High Court order upholding the validity of Samajwadi Pension Yojana, calling it a beautiful scheme for the poor. The complainant alleged that the state government created a discrimination against the members of majority Hindu community on the basis of religion in disbursing the money to the poorer and weaker sections of the society under this pension scheme. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav on Monday addressed an election rally in Amethi, campaigning for party colleague and rape accused Gayatri Prajapati. The minister, however, left the days when Akhilesh arrived. According to party sources, the Chief Minister did not want to share a stage with Prajapati and had asked the organisers of the rally to ensure that he was not present when he spoke. Accusing the BJP of spending crores of rupees over campaigning for the just concluded assembly elections in Uttarakhand, the ruling Congress has asked the Election Commission to launch a probe into the matter. Now, BJP has been charged with publishing advertisements worth crores of rupees on front pages of newspapers and buying prime-time slots for the party's campaigns on private news and entertainment channels. The CPIM on Monday attacked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his graveyard cremation ground remarks. They alleged it was a direct appeal aimed at a communal polarization of votes in Uttar Pradesh. Party General Secretary Sitaram Yechuri also drew a comparison between Modi and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, saying that Vajpayee was more of a democrat while Modi was more of an autocrat. That's all in this edition of Verdict 2017. Thanks for watching.